So let's get started. This is Brad Gustafson at Hotspot Networks, and we are announcing the release of a breakthrough in body camera technology with the release of our HauteVIEW 200 body camera. This body camera is actually a smart device that provides frees officers to focus on their job. Most body cameras up to this point have gotten in the way of doing the job, where the officer has to think about, when do I turn it on? When do I turn it off? How do I comply with all the rules and policies that are in place for the use and recording of a body camera and the evidence that goes with it? The HauteVIEW camera is actually designed to take all those decisions out of the officer's hands and program them into the camera itself and free the officer to do what they're supposed to do, which is dealing with the public. Because it's a programmable, it's a policy implementation tool that can be programmed based on a particular department or agency's policies, and we'll go into more detail on that. So instead of the officer having to remember what is the policy and how do I comply with it, we program those rules into the body of the camera, freeing the officer to do their job. And then it also collects CJIS compliant evidence, which is the FBI's standard for chain of evidence. So this is a camera that is a chain of evidence collector, but in addition to collecting evidence, it also provides real-time situational awareness. So if there is an event happening right now and one officer is involved in it and other officers are on their way, the approaching officers can actually view what is happening as it's happening, and the communication improves the safety of the officers and the effectiveness of the law enforcement. And of course, we'll get into more details how it also simplifies the supervision and monitoring of officers on their job. The body camera is just the first step in a complete architecture of evidence collection and capture. The first step, again, is capturing the evidence using the HauteVIEW 200 body-worn cameras you see on the left. We also have digital in-car video systems that have similar capabilities to the body camera, but our focus today is on the body camera itself. So each device, whether it's in-car system or body camera, will capture the evidence and store it on the device in full resolution, or whatever resolution your policy determines is appropriate. So it could be 1080p or 720, 30 frames a second or 20 frames a second, whatever you want. And then it gets transmitted through either a Wi-Fi network, and we actually are a manufacturer of Wi-Fi, high-performance outdoor wireless routers and access points, or the video can also be transferred via cellular. Now the transfer is done both of live video or stored video. So the video that's captured on the cameras or the body or the in-car systems is stored locally, and then it can also be retrieved after the event or viewed or transferred live. Then the third step after transfer is viewing it live. We're going to be going over our central management service software, which can be run on a server inside of an office, or it can be run on a laptop, cell phone, iPad, Android device as well. So the live viewing can be done from multiple locations, and we'll go into more detail on that. The next step will be the transfer and retrieval of the evidence, not just the video evidence, but other digital evidence, whether it's audio recordings. And our second software program suite is the Evidence Case Manager suite of software that is CGIS compliant and manages the storage and retrieval of any digital evidence. And the last step is, where does that evidence go? Into a vault, which I'll describe in more detail later. And I'll mention the partners that we work with for storage of the video and other evidence, whether it be cloud-based, tape-based, hard drive-based, etc. So this is the architecture of the HauteVIEW 200 in-car system suite of programs and hardware. In the attachment to this webinar, the first page will be this same visual, so you can download that, print it, and take a look at it at your leisure later. I'm going to go over each of these steps in more detail. The capture, we're focusing on the HauteVIEW 200 body camera, and as I said, we can record the video at up to 1080p with a high definition camera. The device, as you see on the right, is actually two pieces. The large body of the camera houses a Wi-Fi and cellular router and would clip to a belt or lower on the body of an officer or whoever is using it. That device also has USB connections for charging the battery, but we don't need to use a docking station to download the video because the video gets downloaded wirelessly. The smaller piece of the camera at the lower left is the imaging sensor, and it has the infrared illuminators, so this device can look and see up to approximately 30 feet in pure darkness and record evidence in the dark. It records audio, video, and location. Built into the camera is a GPS recorder, so it will record not only location but speed and any other GPS items, and that information is broadcast as well. So in the live view portion, you'll be able to see where the device is live. It has local storage. In addition to broadcasting the evidence, the video, it will store on an SD card. Up to 512 megabyte of data can be stored locally on the device, and then it transmits long range through either Wi-Fi or cellular. We'll set up the device, and this is where we work with the integration partners. So if you're an end user, you're going to go, well, how does it get set up? Well, we work with integration partners, as I said, from all over the country that'll be local to you, and they'll be trained by us to set up the devices so that they'll detect your Wi-Fi network and transmit both the live streaming or the recorded video through your Wi-Fi network or through your cellular provider, whether it's AT&T, T-Mobile, Sprint, etc. And that's actually why some of these mobile service providers are interested in this product, because it actually expands the cellular marketplace beyond the existing cell phones that are out there. And it's also, as I said, completely programmable, so we can tell it how to act. Combining the GPS location and the programmability of the camera. One example would be some of the federal agencies that are observing this might be interjurisdictional. So if one jurisdiction, let's say Maryland, has a policy that says the video is supposed to be recorded at 1080p, 30 frames a second, but Virginia says it needs to be recorded at 720p, 20 frames a second. We can program into the camera that when it crosses over those jurisdictional lines, the frame rate and resolution will change. Again, as I said at the very beginning, those are the type of things that can be programmed into the camera, and the officer doesn't have to worry about it. So as an integration partner, we're going to be training you how to set up that programming. As an end user, this is something that we'll deliver to you. You just tell us how you want the camera to act, and then put it on in the morning and forget about it. It makes your life easy. So once we've captured the video or once we've captured the video, then we want to transmit it, as I said, through cellular or Wi-Fi into a live viewing. And the software that allows us to view the video live is called our HauteVIEW Central Management System. And this is a screenshot that I took a week or two ago when I was out in Washington, D.C., and I'm going to, there's many different ways of looking at this. We're going to briefly go through some of the basic displays and functions of the Central Management Service. If you're interested in playing with it yourself, we can actually give you a remote login to access this program and hit the buttons and zoom in and turn on and off the functions at your leisure as part of the training. So let us know if you're interested in having access to testing out this remotely. I'm just checking to see if anybody's got any questions so far. I don't. Oh yeah, there's a comment. It's 512 gigabytes, not megabytes. So I'm getting corrected by our technical staff. So thank you, Bob, for correcting me on that. Anyway, let me go back. So if you're interested in having a demonstration of the software, let us know. We'll give you access to it. Also, we're looking for integration partners and users to assist us in the further testing of the product. We're getting ready to deliver within the next few weeks, and the first wave of deliveries, we want to make test units with end users to do the very final testing before we place large orders. So if you want to get one unit, one of the things that we're going to be doing is waiving the fees for this software for the initial test units. So contact us, and the software cost will be waived. Also pricing, since I mentioned that, MSRP pricing on the HauteVIEW 200 body camera is $999. The last webinar I didn't mention any pricing, and I talked to a attendee afterwards, and they thought it was going to be too expensive. And when I asked them, they were actually considering a dockable body camera that was at $895, which is similar to our HauteVIEW 100 camera, which is about half that price. So price-wise, it's very reasonable with the competition. So we can get into more detail on bulk pricing and reseller pricing if you're interested. Let me know. Anyway, the central management viewing program here. The first view is the video view. As you notice, I've circled it at the top, and there's multiple ways of looking at it. When you hit video, the central focus is the live streaming video. On the left-hand side, will list all the devices that you have the capability of viewing. Currently, I've just checked the digital in-car video system #1 and the HauteVIEW 200 body cam -01. So I have two devices. If you notice under the in-car system, there's 3 channels. The in-cars can actually have 4 cameras attached. For the demo purposes, we only have 1 camera attached. And that in-car system, that video camera is displaying on the right-hand side. That's actually the view from our office in San Luis Obispo, California. And you'll see the car icon on the west coast of the United States. That's the location of our office and the live video that's streaming from there. The body camera, I took the screen capture from my hotel room in Washington, D.C. And as you can see on the far right-hand side, the icon of a body shows up, or a human standing on the east coast of the United States. So if you're end user that has multiple jurisdictions around the country, I've spoken to different companies that have locations around the country, you can actually view live video from anywhere in the U.S., and you'll be able to see the GPS location. The next view is the map view of the Central Management Service, and as you see, when I go to the map view, the main picture is the map instead of the video, and I switched over to satellite. And if you look at that satellite view in the bottom left, that's the White House At the bottom left and about 5 or 6 blocks to the northeast of that is the body of the camera on the intersection, or looking at the intersection of the video at the top right. So a couple other features on the software, if you'll notice on the bottom left, it's actually a two-way communications device. So you can have voice over internet protocol, you can intercom, monitor, or broadcast. So this would be a backup to any if it's law enforcement, typically we use this as a backup to the LMR radios. If this is a business and you don't want to buy radios, you can use this as a communications device. Another thing I'm going to point out is the alarm information at the bottom. And these devices, since they're GPS enabled, can be programmed for alarms. And as a administrator, this is not the end user, administrator level. So this is for the integration firms and our business partners. You would go to the Other tab and select Alarm Configuration, and then you'd select the device, and it would give you all the options for alarms. What do you want to trigger an alarm? So you can trigger an alarm if the panic button is hit, or if there's the video is lost. If you notice, there's I/O 1 through 6. That's input output. Those would be if on the in-car systems, if it's attached to the siren or the light bar, or if a door opens, any number of items can trigger an alarm. But not only do we trigger alarms with these connections, they will also embed metadata into the video. So whenever the devices are recording, they're recording the video, but they're also recording metadata like GPS location, speed, direction, altitude, etc. is recorded as part of the video as a substream on the video. All of these alarms would also be embedded as metadata, and it's very important for us as we look at the complete architecture to understand that the metadata, which is the information that describes the video, becomes searchable when we get to the storage phase. So in other words, we could set this up that not only does it trigger an alarm to happen when the siren gets turned on, but then that is recorded on the video, and 2 years or 3 years later, we're going to be able to search, show me all the video where the siren was turned on, or when the back door was opened on this vehicle, or with this officer. So all this has become searchable data. After you selected what alarm do you want to trigger, you say, how do you want what is the alarm? Do we want to have a sound alarm? It goes beep, 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 so the central dispatch actually hears a sound. Does the screenshot get captured, or does the video preview pop up on the dispatcher's screen for them to watch? So this is all set up by what the end user wants. And this is what the integration firms that are on the phone will need to actually program into the software so that the officers don't have to think about it. So again, this is administrator level information. If you're an officer, end user looking at this, don't worry, you don't have to get into this too much. Our integration firms and us will do the training of your IT staff or provide the pre-programming at the installation time. So the next step in the process is the transfer and retrieve of the video and other digital evidence. And to transfer and retrieve, we use our Evidence Case Manager, which is a suite of 4 programs. The first of which you'll see on the screen is as you see at the bottom, I circled this 4 programs, sort of like Microsoft Office has Word and Excel and PowerPoint, etc. So Evidence Case Manager, the first item on the left of the 4 is the Vault Administrator. This is again for administrative levels, the IT staff or our integration firms, end users. This is done as background setup for the easy part that you'll be using in a minute. So anyway, integrators, you'll set up various vaults where the evidence will be stored, and you'll be able to monitor the status of the vaults, how much activity is going on. And these vaults can be set up on the download server, which is going to be a computer in the precinct office, or they can be set up on the cloud, or they can be set up on a network attached storage. So you might have a central office where the main storage servers are located in 5 precincts. So you'd actually set up various vaults, one at each precinct, and then a main storage at the main office for the department. Then there's 2 programs I've skipped over that we don't need to go into, that would be for training, which is how do you set up the rules for transferring the data and adding additional metadata to the video, and then monitoring the status of the network. Those are all separate programs. The last program that I'm going to go into right now is the right there in the bottom right, I've circled the Sherlock Holmes icon, and we get the Evidence Case Manager search and retrieve function. On the left-hand side, you'll see I've circled the different search criteria. This is the metadata that is searchable. As you notice, we can search by the officer name, by the officer ID number, by the case type, whether it's, as I put in here, domestic violence or murder, whatever type of case. You can search by the date and time the video was stored, or when the video was recorded. You can search by notes. So if you're looking for a specific video and a person's name was typed into the notes during the transfer and storage process, you can search and find that data. I want you to understand that whatever search criteria you place in there is any metadata that's on the video. The Evidence Case Manager will keep track of where the evidence was placed. Typically, what would happen is the evidence would be downloaded through a Wi-Fi network when an officer returns at the end of a shift, and would be stored on a local storage server in his precinct station office for perhaps 7 days. After 7 days, a rule would be set up that says if this evidence is part of a case, they would actually add a case number to it through Evidence Case Manager, which the IT staff will do separate from the officer. But if it assigned a case number, it will then be transferred on day 8 to the long-term storage or mid-term storage on the cloud or server at the central station instead of the remote precinct. And then after 31 days or 90 days, it could be purged from the system or transferred to another location. So all those rules will determine where the evidence goes and how long it stays. For the individual officer, or if the lawyers, the district attorney is given access to search through the video evidence, all they have to do is place in here the criteria: who's the officer, case number, perpetrator name, anything like that, and the Evidence Case Manager will look through all the different locations wherever the video might be and find it and retrieve it and come up with the search results that you see in the center of this video. So it's a seamless search process that's very simple. Once you've found a piece of evidence, be it, as you notice, there's MP4 files. These are video evidence. Evidence Case Manager will store digital files of any sort, whether it's crime scene photos, audio recordings, scanned documents, PDFs, Word docs, Excel files. Anything can be managed by Evidence Case Manager. Its primary function is going to be video evidence, but it's not limited to that. So once you find, let's say, a video that you want to review, you double click on it. Well, this is the results show up here, and you select a video and double click on it, and we'll go to the next screen. And once you select that video, it'll pop up in a separate window that allows you to play it. There's little screenshots, and you'll notice for my purpose as a demonstration, I've actually selected a portion of this video to export. So we're going to, in a moment, export this video. And to do that, we simply press the export button on the bottom right, and then it puts it into the export queue. I want to point out that like I said, you can select portions of the video to be exported, not necessarily the whole thing. In this process, you can add additional metadata to it. And last, when we do the export, it is not replacing or altering the original evidence. So this is part of the chain of evidence process, is that a copy is made for export and the original evidence is maintained so that it's not damaged. And in the export configuration, you'll notice I checked that first green check mark is generate a checksum. What that does is it creates a ID number that correlates with the original evidence, and once the export is completed, if it comes back into the system and that checksum number has changed, that means that the evidence was tampered with. So this is how we maintain chain of evidence. We're able to check evidence that goes out and comes back in and verify that it is actually the original evidence and it hasn't been tampered with. Once you've actually started the export process, you can then redact the video and eliminate what you don't want to be seen for, let's say, FOIA requests, Freedom of Information Act. The Smart DAC function actually has two capabilities. There's both auto detect and user input. So the system will actually identify a face and ask you if you want to follow that face. And in this case, this is Dave in our office demonstrating the HauteVIEW 100 body camera, which is our dockable camera I referred to earlier. And the system has recognized his face, and throughout the video it'll follow his face and redact it. If I wanted to redact the name Hotspot Networks on his shirt, I would just simply click my mouse on that and hold it, and that's part of the manual or user input process of redaction. So it's both automatic and manual available for you. Now once you've actually transferred the video, where does it go to? So let me just check here. The black bar should show up, see if there's any questions. I'm just going to see. I would be interested in software demonstrations, so I'd like access. Okay, so let us know or email me. I'll give you some additional information. If you want personal access to this, go ahead and email, write us a question, or I'll have the contact information for requesting that. So where does the video go? Where does the evidence go? There's, like I said, you can go to local storage, and we work with different companies, some of which are Quantum, SpectraLogic, and NetApp. You'll find that the cost of storage can actually be less using or owning your actual storage. Financing is available through multiple channels. So if you're an end user, you think the cloud storage might be the easiest, and we can send the evidence to the cloud using either Microsoft Azure, Amazon Web Services, or CGIS Solutions, which are the three cloud service providers that comply with the CGIS rules, FBI's chain of evidence, or we can set up a hybrid where the evidence is stored in the cloud temporarily and then goes to long-term storage with Quantum, Spectra, and NetApp using hard drives or tape drives, removable storage, anything. So the storage partners that are the integration partners that we have on the line, one of the things that we'll need to do when we're working with an end user is determine where do they want to store their evidence, and how simple do they want the system to function, and how do we comply with their local storage if it's with CGIS compliance rules. So that'll be part of your job in setting up a complete solution for the end users. Again, end users, you just tell us what you want to accomplish, and let us know what your budget is, and we'll design a system that fits your needs. The next step is ordering. This is our phone number, 805-541-9477, or orders@hotspot.net. As I said, we're looking, this week and next to get some orders for samples that we can get out and do some very final testing. And or if you want to place a large order, we're willing to work with you on that. The delivery for large orders will probably be a month to 2 months out. And so let us know if you want to get, be one of the first to be testing the units.